Hey guys, how's it going? Long time no see. If you're new here, I am your host, Arjuneus, and we make sense out of things that are not supposed to make sense on this channel. That didn't even make sense. Today we are diving deep into the hot topic of anti-natalism, which you probably already know because you read the title of this video already. So let's begin. Antinatalism is the belief that we should not have children because they can experience suffering when we bring them into this world. Cheerful stuff, right? I mean, you never know, that cute little newborn that you know of might turn out to be a spawn of Satan that reigns to become an infamous destroyer of worlds. Like me. Now, before you go grabbing your pitchforks, let's clarify that antinatalism is not about guilt-tripping anyone who does want to leave behind a legacy of offspring. Antinatalism is an extreme measure that seeks to give a 100% guarantee that no child or their family will ever risk having to endure some horrible tragedy or accident. Now, what does this have to do with veganism? Well, interestingly, the idea of antinatalism has gained a lot of popularity within the vegan community. Vegans often argue that aside from animal cruelty, breeding animals leads to overpopulation and adoption issues, lack of resources, and suffering. So why not apply this principle to humans? By reducing overpopulation, we can be proactive in reducing the suffering of future generations. It's the same reason we have sanctuaries for domesticated animals that really should not have been genetically tampered with and bred into existence. Chickens, for example, have been bred larger to maximize their meat, which often leads to aching joints and weak legs and bone fractures. By the time they're fully grown, most of them are unable to walk and have to lie in their own waste as the ammonia burns and blisters their bodies that they are trapped in. Sanctuaries are therefore strictly against breeding animals and simply places for animals to peacefully live without exploitation. So a vegan philosophy and antinatalism are both rooted in harm reduction for present and future life with regard to procreation. But just like how environmentalism can lead to eco-fascism, antinatalism also has its severe consequences. Antinatalism basically proposes a phased extinction of humanity, with the notion that with each human birth can come a negative value. Now, an organized mass extinction of humanity may sound like a supervillain scheme, but it's actually not about killing everyone. It's about preventing more people from having to risk going through hell at a certain point. Now, it's no secret that humans are biologically wired to desire to want to procreate children at a certain phase in their maturity, or just so it's quite normal to think that a world without children and procreation could feel dull. The only reason we've been able to survive so long as a species and populate this planet is because evolution favored that programming. But antinatalists argue that we need to look past our biological programming in order to escape the imprisonment in our sentient bodies that we experience suffering and pain through. Though there are plenty of off-the-grid communities who have lived overall positive lives for generation, even if there was a bit of suffering involved. Is there a solution to help people be born into families or environments that have had a higher probability of generating a net positive life experience and leaving a net positive human civilization? Well, one idea is to encourage parents to take a basic exam to test their parenting skills before having children. My body, my choice! My body, my choice! Calm down, let's think about this. Let's make it very simple. This isn't some Nazi eugenics campaign. It has nothing to do with class, race, religion, status, and etc. In fact, it has nothing to do with your reproductive rights either. It just has to do with getting some basic feedback on whether you would be a good parent or f it all up. I mean, think about this. A push on basic education on the best practices known by scholars for raising kids before assuming that you know everything and that no terrible accident will occur under the care of your children. Now, in day 71 of my book, I discussed that there is a fine line between confidence and stupidity. And that's because the people with a low ability at a task tend to overestimate their ability to accomplish it. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. And let's be real, every parent thinks that they can raise their kids better than the way they were raised. But confidence can sometimes cross the line into stupidity. Just look at the interviews with the parents of serial killers. They all thought they did a good job at raising their kid. Turns out they were indirectly raising mass murderers. And it's very common to see that the most evil, heinous people in the world were just not raised properly. Philosopher David Benatar wrote in his book, "While good people go to great lengths to spare their children from suffering, few of them seem to notice that the one and only guaranteed way to prevent a terrifying and abusive fate of their children is not to bring those children into existence in the first place." Benatar believes that life is intrinsically permeated by badness and that the world would be better off if sentient life disappeared altogether. Now, whether you find this ideology completely repulsive or quite interesting and convincing, antinatalism does in fact give us a lot of insights into the nature of cruelty and suffering. Because life is full of suffering that sometimes can be overturned into wisdom, but sometimes lead to lifetimes of institutionalized trauma. But just be happy you weren't born as an animal into a death camp. Or were you? We're going to talk about veganism and reincarnation in the next video, so be sure you're getting notifications for my video. My name is Arjuneus. Thanks so much for watching. This topic was requested by an anonymous Patreon due to the controversial nature of the talk. But if you would like to select a topic of your choice and get all sorts of rewards and access to a bunch of other stuff, be sure to check out my Patreon. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Chaos out. I want to give a big shout out to all my Patreons. I'm going to be sending you some goodies in the mail very soon. And a special shout out to Maria and Lee for participating in my Instagram Wisdom Through Psychology contest. You guys won a signed copy of my book and some other goodies, so expect that in your mail very soon.